Hi, strawberries. Welcome back to the Strawberry Patch. Tonight we're going to slow down, get cozy, and read a few pages together. Tonight we're going to read Chapter 7 of The Secret Garden, The Key to the Garden. 2 days after this, when Mary opened her eyes, she sat upright in bed immediately and called to Martha. Look at the moor! Look at the moor! The rainstorm has ended, and the gray mist and clouds have been swept away in the night by the wind. The wind itself has ceased, and a brilliant deep blue sky arched high over the moorland. Never, never had Mary dreamed of a sky so blue. The Indian skies were hot and blazing. This was of a deep, cool blue, which almost seemed to sparkle like the waters of some lovely bottomless lake. And here and there, high, high in the arched blueness floated small clouds of snow white blues. The far reaching world of the moor itself looked softly blue instead of gloomy purple black or awful cherry gray. Aye, said Martha with a cheerful grin. The storm's over for a bit. It does like this at the time of the year. It goes off in the night, like it was pretending it has never been here and never meant to come again. That's because the springtime's on its way. It's a long way off yet, but it's coming. I thought perhaps it always rained and looked dark in England, Mary said. No, said Martha, sitting up on her heels among her black clay brushes. Now it's sort. What does that mean? Asked Mary seriously. In India, the natives spoke different dialects which only a few people understood, so she was not surprised when Martha used words she did not know. Martha laughed as she had done the first morning. There now, she said. I've talked broad Yorkshire again, like Mrs. Medlock said I mustn't. Now of the sorts means nothing of the sorts. Slowly and carefully, but it takes so long to say it. Yorkshire's the sunniest place on earth. When it's sunny, I told thee that like the more after a bit. Just you wait till you see the cold colored gorse blossoms and the blossoms of the bloom and the heather flower, all purple bells, all hundreds of butterflies flutting and bees humming and skylarks soaring up a singing. You'll want to get out on the sunrise and live out in the day, all day, like Dickens does. Could I ever get there? Asked Mary wistfully, looking through her window at a far off blue. It was so new and big and wonderful and such a heavenly color. I don't know, answered Martha. That's never used the lake since I was born. It seems to me that couldn't walk 5 miles. It's 5 miles to our cottage. I should like to see your cottage. Martha stared at her a moment curiously before she took up her polishing brush and began to rub the grit again. She was thinking that the small plain face did not look quite as sour at this moment as it had done the first morning she saw it. It looked just a trifle like little Susan Ann's when she wanted something very much. I asked my mother about it, she said. She's one of them that nearly always sees a way to do things. It's my day out today and I'm going home. Eh? I'm glad. Mrs. Medlock thinks a lot of mother. Perhaps she could talk to her. I like your mother, said Mary. I should think that I did, agreed Martha, polishing away. I've never seen her, said Mary. No, that hasn't, replied Martha. She sat up on her heels again and rubbed the ends of her nose with the back of her hands as if puzzled for a moment, but she ended quite positively. Well, she is thy sensible and hard-working and good-natured and clean, and no one can help liking her whether she's seen her or not. When I'm going home to her on my day out, I just jump for joy when I'm crossing the moor. I like Dickon, added Mary, and I've never seen him. Well, said Martha stoutly, I told thee that I like birds very much. Him likes rabbits and wild sheep and ponies and foxes themselves, I wonder. Staring at her reflectively, what Dickens would think of thee? He wouldn't like me, said Marian in her stiff, cold little way. No one does. Martha looked reflective again. How does Divey like bees? She inquired, real quiet, as if she was curious to know. Mary hesitated a moment and thought it over. Not at all, really, she answered. But I never thought of it before. Martha grinned a little as if she saw some homely recollection. Mother said that to me once, she said. She was at her wash tub and I was in the bad temper and taking ill of folk. And she turned around to me and said, that young vixen, that there stands saying it doesn't like this one and doesn't like that one. How does that like thyself? It made me laugh and brought me to my senses in a minute. She went away in high spirits as soon as she had given Mary her breakfast. She was going to walk 5 miles across the moor to the cottage, and she was going to help her mother with the washing and do the week's baking and enjoy herself thoroughly. Mary felt lonelier than ever when she knew she was no longer in the house. She went right into the garden as quickly as possible, and the first thing she could do was to run around and around the fountain garden 10 times. She counted the times carefully, and when she had finished, she felt in better spirits. The sunshine made the whole place look different. The high, deep blue sky arched over Mr. Wayne as well as over the moor, and she kept lifting her face and looking up into it, trying to imagine what it would be like to lie down on one of the little snow white clouds and float about. She went into the first kitchen garden and found Ben Weatherstaff working there and two other gardeners. The change in the weather seemed to have done him good. He spoke to her in his own accord. Springtime's coming, he said. Cannot I spell it? Mary sniffed and thought she could. I smell something nice and fresh and damp, she said. That's good, rich earth, he answered, digging away. It's in a good humor making ready to grow things. It's glad when planting time comes. It's dull in the winter when it's got none to do, and the flower gardens out there will be stirring down below in the dark. The sun's warming them, and you see bits of green spikes sticking out the black earth after a bit. What would they be? Asked Mary. Crocodiles and snowdrops and daffodils. Has I never seen them? No. Everything is hot and wet and green after the rains in India, said Mary. And I think things grow up in the night. These won't grow up in the night, said Weatherstaff. Thou have to wait for 'em. Thou poke 'em a bit higher here and push out the spike more there and then curl a leaf this day and another that. You watch 'em. I am going to, answered Mary. Very soon she heard the soft rustling flight of wings again, and she knew at once that the robin had come again. He was very pert and lively, and hopped about so close to her feet, and put his head on one side and looked at her so slyly that she asked Ben Weatherstaff a question. Do you think he remembers me? She said. Remembers thee? Said Weatherstaff eagerly. He knows every cabbage stump in the garden, let alone the people. He has never seen a little wench here before, and he's bent on finding out all about thee. There's no need to try to hide anything from him. I think starting down below in the dark in that garden where he lives, Mary inquired. What garden? Grunted Weatherstaff, becoming surly again. The one where the old rose trees are. She could not help asking because she wanted so much to know. Are all the flowers dead, or do some of them come again in the winter? Are there ever any roses? Ask him, said Bet Weatherstaff, hunching his shoulders towards Robin. He's the only one who knows. No one else has seen it inside for 10 years. 10 years was a long time, Mary thought. She had been born 10 years ago. She walked away slowly thinking. She had begun to like the garden just as she had liked to begun to like the robin and Dickon and Martha's mother. She was beginning to like Martha too. That seemed a good many people to like when you were not used to liking. She thought of the robin as one of the people. She went to her walk outside the long ivy covered wall over which she could see the tree tops, and the second time she walked up and down the most interesting and exciting thing to happen to her, and it was all through Ben Weatherstaff's robin. She heard a chirp and a twitter, and when she looked at the bare flower bed at her left side, there was hoping about, and pretended to peck things out of the earth to persuade her that he had not followed her. But when she had followed him, and the surprise so filled her in delight that she almost trembled a little. You do remember me, she cried out. You do. You are prettier than anything else in the world. She chirped and talked and coaxed, and he hopped and flirted his tail and twittered. It was as if he was talking. His red waistcoat was like the satin, and he puffed his tiny breast out and was so fine and so grand and so pretty that it was really as if he was showing her how important and like a human person a robin could be. Mistress Mary forgot that she had ever been contrary in her life when he allowed her to draw closer and closer to him, and bent down and talked and tried to make something like robin sounds. Oh, to think that he should actually let her come near to him as that. He knew nothing in the world would make her put out her hand towards him or startle him in the least tiniest way. He knew it because he was a real person, only nicer than any other person in the world. She was so happy that she scarcely dared to breathe. The flowerbed was not quite bare. It was bare of flowers because of the perinatal plants that had been cut down for the winter rest, but there were tall shrubs and low ones which grew together at the back of the bed, and as the robin hopped about under them, she saw him hop over a small pile of freshly turned up earth. He stopped on it to look for a worm. The earth has been turned up because a dog has been trying to dig up a mole and he has scratched quite a deep hole. Mary looked at it, not really knowing why the hole was there, and she saw something almost buried in the newly turned soil. It was something like a ring of rusty iron or brass, and when the robin flew up into the tree nearby, she put out her hand and picked the ring up. It was more than a ring. However, it was an old key which looked as if it has been buried a long time. Mistress Mary stood up and looked at it with almost frightened face as it hung from her finger. Perhaps it has been buried for 10 years, she said in a whisper. Perhaps it is the key to the garden. Thank you for spending a little time in the strawberry patch with me tonight. I hope this story brought you a little peace. Sleep well, strawberries, and I'll see you in the next chapter.